there's 20 different things to gather their sentiments, and then we did one after to gauge. We didn't want to just be our opinion, so we wanted to gauge, okay, does it make a difference? And the results of the survey actually showed that, oh, we also had a question, for example, that if we had to actually cut, let's say, part of your salary to make up for that one day, would you still want it? And the results of the survey actually showed, especially it was mostly women participated, that most persons within the department actually value their time almost more than money. I was even surprised of that. Persons value their time. And they, for example, one person said, I would have more time with my kids. Another person said, I'll have time, at least I could focus on one day where I could focus on my hobby that could generate revenue instead of, let's say, having to rush from work or after work participating in this hobby or, let's say, a side hustle. We did it was 3 months. The first month was 4 days, either Monday or Friday you had off. And the first month, the project was not a day off, but you had to study. So it was a study day. The second month, it was a full day off, Monday or Friday, but you had to work for 9 hours. So all the other days was 9 hours instead of 8 hours. And then the last month, it was not a day off, but either Monday or Friday off. Your manager determined that, but you had then an opportunity to work from home. So they always supply with laptops and computers. So then we had 3 different ways of managing, of saying, okay, we have 3 different possibilities to be able to do something like this. I think it was a great result. You could talk to the department head. It's the financial accounting department, to get their feedback on it. And one of the things that I requested of the department, I said, hey, listen, I don't mind doing this pilot project, because it was an idea that I saw at SR Bay in Curacao. They had a similar, they have a policy actually. So we were basically looking at creating a policy. And I said, hey, for sure, if we're going to do something like this, everyone must participate. And if everyone doesn't participate, we won't continue with this project. And everyone did participate, and I will say that we saw an improvement in just, let's say, how happy individuals were to just come to work. And the quality of work and the amount of work didn't drop according to the managers and the staff. So we didn't see, that was another requirement, that work quality had to either remain equal or actually improve going forward. So we can't see a drop. So it showed that that's possible. And of course, then our laws don't 100% allow, especially when it comes to, let's say, the financial consequences thereof. But we have some ways that we could work around that. So if you ever want to discuss, work from the chair of the finance committee and the VSA could work together to find that solution, because there is a possibility to have that implemented. And I would like that we actually look into that. I think our staff, we've been neglected COLA for umpteen years, more than 10 years, while inflation continues to rise. And this would be one way to be able to, let's say, give back to our civil servants and show them that, hey, we care not just about their work, but their quality of life while they work. The questions regarding the legal help desk. A few months ago, I saw 2 articles come out. So I want to know, this legal help desk, which concept are we working with? The one from MP Roseberg or former MP Akim Arundel? Because I think they both said that they had Akim Arundel. I know they both were proponents of that, and they both submitted concepts. So which concept are we working with? And I don't get why we just can't start. Because if there's no, based on the questions posed, if there's no financial consequences, why can't we just start? It isn't my idea, but I think it's a good idea. I have a lot of individuals that say, for example, even during the campaign, I was in Dutch Quarter, and some guys came up to me, they couldn't read Dutch, and they asked me to read these documents for them and help them, and they had no place to go. So I would give them my lawyer, for example, number, or I would bring them to a notary. And I think it's very intimidating for them also, for a person that has never been introduced or never gone to a lawyer for, let's say, non-criminal reasons, for example, or never had to go to a notary. It's very intimidating for them. So if they know that this entity is set up where they're able to just get advice, not even, let's say, go through a court procedure, just get advice. I was very shocked to see how much request just for information, just for knowledge on how to proceed with certain matters. Somebody, their father had died, they had inherited something, they want to know how to proceed further. So I think that this is a very good setup for St. Maarten. And I would just like to know when we could officially get a start date. And if you can't get an official start date, why? And what are the obstacles from saying today is the day we will start? I saw in the paper, maybe it was mentioned here that there was a few lawyers. How can we maximize the list? How can we get most of the lawyers on board? Can we increase the amount of lawyers to the legal help desk? And outside of, I saw MP Roseberg promote a couple of times, and I had asked her, I said, you promote him, but when is it starting? And I think that the ministry needs to promote now, because she mentioned back then too that this is not my project, but it still looks as if it's her project. So I think that the ministry needs to take ownership of it now and just start promoting, start on the start date, because I think this is something very, very much needed for our community. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Irian. MP York, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, good afternoon to the Minister and her support staff. And special thanks to the Minister for her extensive answers to all the questions posed to her in the prior sitting. I have a couple clarification questions to ask. One, I think she answered the same question, but I understood she answered the same question twice, but I got two different answers. One, I was very much happy with it, and the second one I got a bit concerned. Maybe I misunderstood. So if anything, the Minister can clarify that through you, Madam Chair. When I asked about the check and balances for that third party, for example, in Colombia, when it pertains to the patients, the care of the patients, and the reporting of such, and also the quality thereof. In one of the answers, the Minister, through you, Madam Chair, elaborated on a possible solution when it comes to having a liaison in Colombia, that's being thought of. And then in the second question about the same topic, she alluded to putting out one company that you guys worked with before for the international office, or the international desk. Did I misunderstand that one? Okay. Well, good. Because my concern was exactly with the international office and the inner workings there when it comes to reporting of what is being said to patients, what is being advised to patients, and then in turn their advice to SZV. And also the power of which the case manager at SZV really has as it pertains to standing up for the patient. Is it that they report their findings with their advice? Is it that they need to particular weight on certain green lights from the international office in order to make their report? Because the reason for that question is many times, I could attest to that, maybe a companion or a patient will report one thing to SZV, but whatever the international office reports to them supersedes that, right? And from experience, not everything that the international office says is the truth. Because you have an international office or a third party, if I put it that way, that is being paid per patient or per time spent in Colombia. And a lot of times when a patient goes down and they could spend 2 to 3 weeks, they end up paying 2 to 3 months. And those few that end up standing up for themselves ends up getting from one day to the next a ticket in their hand saying we're sending you back. And by the time they get back to St. Maarten and before they even submit a report, they have a complaint report that fell out of the sky about them, right? That's waiting for them at SZV. So hence my question about the international office and the checking of the check and balances. Who checks them while the patient is there? Especially patients that cannot speak the language. In my opinion, you have those that have excellent experiences with international office, but you have those that have the total opposite. It's very far in between that you have those that have a neutral opinion, right? And those that have a bad opinion, a bad experience with international office, that experience is then translated into expenses for Sint Maarten. And if we're sitting and saying, I just saw an article where SZV is running a loss of 20 to 21 million this year and 19 million next year, these type of expenses contributes towards that. So my question is, what, it's not a one, two, three solution, but what are the plans or vision that the ministry has, because this is something that has to be a shared vision between the outgoing minister and the incoming minister. What solutions or ideas or / vision do they have to combat this issue, also to curb expenses? Next thing, the minister answered that basically the function book is in the works, the adjustments thereof. I know these things take time, but what is the foreseeable timeline? Not end date, but more like, hey, we are striving to have it done by the end of 2025, 2026. Something that civil servants that work in the ministry can look forward to, because a lot of them, I must say, you can is debatable that the morale is low, but if they know something is coming and obviously when they could look out for it, that in itself would help to raise the morale and thus the quality. Last question. It's a repetitive topic at this point. The legal help desk. That's a I would say a famous topic today. But when it comes to the legal help desk, I understand there's not a start date, and I understand that the minister, through you, Madam Chair, doesn't want to market a start date to, in case something occurs that the start date changes once, twice, 3 times, and then people lose faith that it's coming. But I think a simple remedy would be that with whatever marketing is being marketed, that is just not with a date, but just coming soon. I think something like that is not a promise, but is also something that people can look forward to. And in the meantime, the marketing that could be used, or the marketing strategy that can be used, is more of an informative what it is, because people are not really familiar with like the juridisch loket in Holland and those type of workings. Not so much that a help desk is coming, but more what it is, and leading up to it whenever you have a start date, so you can switch it over to that when time presents itself. And if the legal help desk, because I think you alluded to a priority list, where does that stand on your priority list? Because a lot of times when it comes to government, whether this one, the last one, the one before that, I would say it tends to come over as a reactionary instead of proactive. And when I say proactive, it's actually having a date and striving towards that instead of waiting for what is presented to make a date based on that. So I would like to know what's the on a scale from 1 to 5, what is it on the priority list of the minister, both incoming and outgoing, because basically you guys have to be on the same line, I would hope. Yeah, those would be my questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
MP York, MP Myers, you have